My name is Adan Pope. I'm the Chief Information Technology Officer for Ciena. And information technology is really what we think is critical at this point in the juncture of the industry that we're at. We're trying to introduce information technology for virtualization. That technology has an impact, a follow-on impact operations support and networks. And so it becomes increasingly important that we bring IT, network, and operation together. And so I'm focused on that with regard to our software business. I think if we take a look at digital transformation, we in this industry generally look at that from the outside in. Like, our industry is supporting the digital transformation of every other industry in the world, which is true. Healthcare, automotive, manufacturing, all these industries are undergoing digital transformation, and we think of ourselves in the role of our enablement of that transformation. And while that's true, I think it's time for us to look at the digital transformation of ourselves, okay? In doing so, enabling ourselves to be more flexible, agile, and delivering even greater solutions faster, lower cost to our customers, who are now these industries themselves undergoing this massive change. But I think when we talk about digital transformation, we generally have a lot of definitional conflict. Like, what is it? What are we really talking about? We're talking about technology to radically improve the enterprise's performance and reach. Radically improve, as opposed to incrementally improve, okay? And I think in our industry specifically, many times we're focused on the incrementalism. We're focused on the getting the new service out. It's a little variant different of a previous service that we have. But our opportunity now is to radically improve that. And so it's pervasive across all industries already today. We'd argue it's time to take a look inside. If we think about reach, this industry is an industry of reach. Think about the reach that we have created globally with the services that we've delivered throughout time. Now the transformation is, how can we reach our customers when our customers may not be subscribers? Maybe they're incorporating our technology into their offer as they transform toward digital healthcare, for example. And I think that's a critical difference. This efficiency that we're looking to gain is not for the sake of efficiency, it's for the sake of funding our own transformation and funding an uncertain future for ourselves and for the industries that we support. If we all knew what the next killer app was, we'd all be independently wealthy and wouldn't necessarily be at shows like this. We don't know what the next killer app is, right? We do know that it will require network technologies, it'll require services, it'll require us to deliver them in a more agile fashion, and it'll require us to innovate and experiment. And operational IT process automation is focused, of course, on higher revenues and, of course, on becoming more agile, but really also reducing OpEx. And if we take a look at OpEx in the service provider industry, it's persistently high, right? So this idea of automation first is fantastic when you're introducing a new service, but what does it mean to automate now an existing service, right? And we think that there's an opportunity there as we look to digital transformation. As we look sort of outside into the industry, service providers seem to be pursuing two sorts of strategies here. Obviously, both of those strategies are coming together. Some organizations have one, some have the other. Larger service providers have both. Automation is critical regardless of which strategy is being pursued. The traditional communication service provider model, clearly a strategy, and there's many companies in the industry that are pursuing that, and we need them too. This is a very cost-efficient, ruthless competition sort of model. Automation there is to allow us to compete and provide services when the service is effectively being commoditized by competitors, and when the revenues and the profit margin has been sort of on the decline year over year. Because we're now delivering this service in conjunction with the companies that we're trying to help transform. We're going to provide a communication service in conjunction with the Da Vinci operating machine service for e-healthcare, for example. We can't charge the same premium as if it was the overall service itself. The DSP model, different, focused on growth. As I said, most service providers actually are approaching both of these models concurrently if they're large scale. But this is focused on very heavy media service mix, focused on leveraging mobile first, IP-centric, cloud first, try it, experiment, kill the products that aren't successful. Automation is critical in this case because we can't afford to create the perfect system, the perfect operations environment, if that product may not be successful long term. We want to free OpEx from the legacy operations in this model to fund our experimentation here because the market size is the size. We don't have a brand new customer base necessarily. IoT will help us. It definitely will help us generate new revenues, but it may not be the panacea to make our businesses grow 100-fold. It's still going to be, we need to fund this stuff with money that we already have. And the last point is I think that there's pretty much agreement around the shape of, architectural shape of the operations transformation orchestration architecture out there. There's a lot of initiatives around it. But there's fundamental disagreement in standards. There's competing standards. That slows things down. We argue that since the shape is fairly understood, let's use a best component approach to fulfill the vision for digital transformation based on that reference architecture. And we applaud ONAP for providing a reference architecture for all of us to talk about in the industry, and Blue Planet has certainly been at the forefront of that for the years. As I've gone around the show the last couple of days and I heard the previous presentations, I think there's some frustration with kind of where we are. You know, if we looked at 2012 with the first ETSI NFV white paper, came out of this show, came out of this forum, a lot of excitement, a lot of enthusiasm for the next 2 years, proofs of concepts, field trials, experimentation, lots of virtual functions created, and we had a future to a world of early adopters and early deployments. The second and third version of the white paper were written during the 2016 timeframe, and again, we all expected that today we might be further along than we are. And then the sloth. The sloth. A slow animal, friendly looking, but not necessarily agile, not necessarily as fast as we'd hoped. We'd argue that we're at this point because of the operational complexity is slowing the broad adoption. Carolyn said it, Matt said it, many have said it. The technologies fundamentally exist. We have virtual CP, we have white boxes, we have orchestration, we have VNFs, we have a reference architecture. Why are we slow to get this transformation to occur? Because all of that has to live within the context of the operating environment of the service provider today. And networks can really only evolve at the rate of operational support. Being a networking guy and an operations guy, it's painful to recognize that, but that's true. You can't introduce a new service you can't introduce. You have to introduce it, assure it, bill for it, charge for it. So much has been achieved, but we've fallen a little bit short of the 2012 expectations that we had. And I think that's because there's two different worldviews at play here. Of course, we have the NFV and the network view. This is clear, it's well-defined, it's structured, there's APIs between every layer. We understand the utilization of infrastructure and services and virtual VMs and so forth. But then if we take a look at the reality of today, and this is a chart stolen from my pal Guy Lupo, we presented this at DTW in 2018. The reality today is that the operation support systems look a little different than the well-organized model of the VNF and the network that we want to get to. They're complicated, they're multi-point integrated, they're defined over a long period of time. They have relationships with organizations and boundaries within organizations as well. And they see NFVO as another network technology to be introduced, which further complicates their already complicated stack, their already complicated world. The reality of today's operations are, and I think these numbers are kind, really tens of thousands of users in a large service provider per service. That OpEx is very expensive, and they're doing work that could be automated to a degree, not fully, but to a degree. Hundreds and thousands of processes and thousands and hundreds of systems. And now we're going to introduce a fully virtualized, highly dynamic set of infrastructure and services alongside of that. Do we fit those services within the existing operation support system? That's slow. Do we create a new paradigm to integrate virtualization, orchestration with them? I think there's an opportunity there. We all know this, but I have to remind. So if you take a look at sort of a common systems architecture for fulfillment today, on the IT and operations side, it sort of looks top down. You have billing, support systems, care systems. You have a fulfillment, inventory, activation, very linear flowed systems. They're built for the purpose of fulfilling services on a network. Unfortunately, these are generally one service, one system. So you have a proliferation of the number of these types. You might have one, you might have 3 for Ethernet. You might have 10 for transport. You might have, when you come to consolidation of service providers as well, you might have one from the previous division that was now consolidated with the new division. So that the sprawl of systems that are in play here, significant, drives operation cost. They're built for purpose, but they're built for a physical network world. We believe moving forward, we need to build a bridge between the network organization and the aspirations of this forum to virtualize, to create more flexible, agile infrastructure, and that of the IT and operations support world. Because as I said, we can only transform the network at the rate of operations support. Clearly, operations support lives and exists for the purpose of delivering services and operations on networks. So those two have to come together. My observation over the last years is that there's a lot of organizational conflict between IT operations and network that really doesn't help. In fact, we're all in it together. We need to build this bridge. So how do we build the bridge? We think a way to do that is to introduce an intelligent automation solution and platform that will bridge this gap, that will bring IT support operation systems in conjunction and concert with virtual network infrastructure and the sort of values that they bring, that they'll bridge then both the views and help accelerate the digital transformation of ourselves as a service provider industry. We think there are 3 pillars to this platform that are required. First of all, orchestration. I think we've come a long way in orchestration. And Ciena before Ciena had really pioneered in this area, and we applaud the efforts of the open programs that are out there in orchestration. So orchestration is key because we still need to manage and introduce this life cycle of virtual network infrastructure and services that they support. The part that's been maybe missing is the integration to a multi-domain inventory topology and visualization layer. Traditionally, OSS has been considered separate to this new network that we're launching. We're recommending that we integrate the OSS with this new virtual network infrastructure, and clearly policy management, assurance, and analytics to provide greater closed-loop automation or closed-loop-ish automation, depending upon the comfort of our customers. This technology exists to create degrees of automation that maybe we're less comfortable with today, but at least we can create automation or can create workflow that's driven by real data and decision-making, and analytics can provide a great role for that, all based on a carrier-grade open platform approach. So we think a transformed business operations architecture for network and IT kind of looks like this. We have lines of business. Lines of business exist for the purpose of introducing new services and serving their customers. This is where they meet the digital transformation of their customer. Those lines of business have to become by far more agile than they are today. They are fundamentally at the forefront of this transformation outward to the market. At the bottom of our architecture, we have domains. There's no agreement on what a domain is by scope, but one thing I would say is a domain at least represents an operational organizational scope, the transport domain, which is introducing virtualization technology. And oh, by the way, they have a lot of physical stuff. We're not virtualizing photons anytime soon. We have a lot of cables, we have people in trucks, we have workflow systems. There's a tremendous amount of physicality in networks for forever, even if we could virtualize a greater proportion of it. And in the middle, we have multi-domain service orchestration, and this layer provides an abstraction, an encapsulation of the domains to the lines of business. So a line of business should be able to create services and products that are based on the domains the business operates. This architecture is future-proof in that we can introduce additional domains without having to disturb the lines of business, without having to disturb the operations support systems. And if we look inside of a domain itself, we'd argue that there's orchestration for sure, because we're trying to virtualize, we're trying to provide more agile service introduction. There's policy, absolutely, because we want to take a more programmatic and repeatable approach to managing sort of the mundane tasks and the repeatable tasks of the operations of a service. There's topology management, systems management. The part that we may not have considered before is we believe that within this domain construct, the federated inventory fits. This is where IT and operations and network can come together. Rather than having a physical planning organization and a physical provisioning organization for the physical aspects of the service and a provisioning organization for the virtualized aspects of the service, if we create a domain and we wrap that domain in orchestration and we provide the APIs from this domain to the multi-domain orchestrator, to the lines of business, we'll all be on the same team because we'll all be using the same operational systems. We'll all be informed by the same data, informed by the same analytics, and we can federate the inventories that are there. Little well-known secret, maybe it's not a secret, there are many inventory systems in play in service providers, and they've been challenged on the data migration issues over the time of their life because of it's complicated. Most data migrations fail. Most inventory systems, once installed, stay forever because the data migration is just far too complicated. Those inventory systems and fulfillment systems are in place in these domains. So if we create a domain encapsulation, we can federate the inventories, federate the fulfillment systems within that domain, and then over time, increase the level of automation, decrease the level of human intervention, retire the legacy systems, and ultimately refactor our domain to be by far more automated, still taking into consideration there will be manual work as necessary. This domain needs to link to and incorporate an assurance view of the world. Analytics is all about bringing data and making decisions upon it. Assurance is really about helping the organization respond and get ahead of challenges and operations issues in the environment. So, we think that putting network and IT together, really they're better together. We need a bridge. We think this bridge really is this multi-domain orchestration layer. We believe this bridge is a domain architecture that incorporates IT operations support realities with orchestration, allowing us to introduce the network function virtualization, all the benefits we're trying to do in this conference in context with the operational reality of today. We believe this will create additional service velocity because each line of business is able and enabled to pursue their objectives independent of all the transformation that needs to happen in the network. If you're in the line of business and you're in the billing organization or the care organization and you're facing your customer, you probably don't want to talk to them about the fact that you're virtualizing your infrastructure. You want to talk to them about what value you can provide them as they approach their digital transformation. So this is the insulation and the isolation of the domains from the multi-domain orchestrator give you that value proposition, enables velocity at the line of business layer. We're able to optimize the resource utilization across these layers and domains because we can transform within a domain while hiding that complexity. We believe this will also reduce service order fulfillment issues and data integrity issues. Even today, without virtualization, a key challenge in operations support is data integrity. The general number in the industry is the inventory is around 70% accurate. That's tough. That means the fallout rate for orders is 20, 30%. That's tough. Every time an order doesn't get processed, we dispatch someone. We send someone to audit equipment. We do a bunch of physical work, put someone in a truck. Orchestration can fundamentally improve the data integrity of inventory, even if we were not virtualizing the network at the degree that we are. So reducing errors and order fallout is really important. And in the end, the goal here is to increase customer satisfaction. For sure, customers will be more satisfied with us if they can get what they want from us when they want it, in a fashion that they want it, and we can deliver it in a cost-effective manner. Because if we can do so, we can invest in innovation. If we can't, we really can't. We have to free the OpEx to fund our innovation. And we think that this solution approach really gives us that. So, in summary, we really think it's all about digital transformation today. We think the carriers and ourselves need to look at transformation, digital transformation. We think that good news, the technologies exist. We're here to help. Blue Planet Intelligent Automation is really optimized for this approach. And what's different is, what's new, and I've heard a lot of, what's new, what's happening? What's different is, we're promoting and proposing that the incorporation of operations and operations support with virtualization, with orchestration, is really one of the keys to unleash the growth and creativity that we started this journey with in 2012. And it is time to get over sort of the barriers between these organizations. Just as a note, we're deployed now in over 20 service provider organizations, and we've really grown our portfolio recently and have been recognized for that. And we thank you all as our customers and for also listening to me today. And we're around in booth 29 and 30. Come and take a look at a live demo and come and see us. Thank you very much.